Hello, folks. We're back for part three, probably the final part of Shelter from the Storm. I'm John, designer of Through the Hedgerow and the judge for this evening's session. And I think we'll get the players to introduce themselves to you once again, starting with Carl.
Yeah. So I'm Carl, again, seasoned role player for many years. Tonight I will be playing Dankworth Darkly, the Victorian grave digger, coroner, medicine man, general odd fellow as a spider person in a large trench coat.
And Nick.
Hello, I'm Nick. As per usual, we normally say about how long we've been role-playing for, so I'll go for something different. As you may notice, this is the third session with the third Greenland t-shirt, so I am a bit of a fan. And I'll be playing Wombard, who is a Saxon warlock with a penchant for bees.
And Simon.
Well, tonight, maybe I should say how long I've been role-playing. Well, tonight's about 2 minutes. I'm playing Radcliffe Wally Walsh. Wally is the itinerant clown with the tears on the inside. A Great War veteran. He's got a deep, dark undercurrent of sadness.
Beautifully played.
Or old Wally.
Yeah, good. And in the story so far, the Briar Knights have been summoned through the hedgerow by the light to the village of Henleyhoff in 1941, where the village is alive with rumours of German spies and paratroopers. They are aware that the evil Raven Margrave is mustering his forces, and they are looking for a sort of fugitive through time, a Viking warrior who the Raven is anxious to secure, and the players must make sure he doesn't. They know that romance or love is going to be really important to resolving this, and that holy ground could be really important as an asset for giving them the best chance of succeeding. So they're in Henleyhoff. We've had 2 sessions so far of exploring the village, its undercurrents, its feuds and plots and disagreements. We've had some encounters with the supernatural, the evil malignity of ravens that seems to be nesting up on Grimble's seat and came swooping down last session and menaced everybody. And following on from that, evil Corby sort of were ravens that proved even more dangerous. And the growing menace of the son of the local landowner, Eustace Childick, who seems to be strangely touched by the dark. At the end of the last session, we were pursuing the village children who Susanna Lumley, the daughter, 16-year-old daughter of the vicar, who was stealing medicines from the doctor's office in the company of the evacuee child Digby, who could see the supernatural, and young Walter Weiss, the son of the dead German surveyor, whose mother, Widow Rice, is being also menaced by Eustace Childick. But most importantly, we concluded with a dramatic defeat of 2 of the Briar Knights at the beaks and talons of the horrible Corbies and their sorcerous powers. So that left Bombard, that left you sort of witless and bleeding and deranged and sprawled in the hedgerow and crawling down the lane, where I think you're certainly going to be encountered by Darkly, who was heading in that direction. And but we'll come on to that in a moment, because rather more dramatically, there was the fate of Wally. Now, Simon, you'd chosen a defeat option for Wally of capture because you thought, and I agree with you, that that's the kind of most interesting result going. Now, your character as a motley jester has a once per adventure power to basically escape the consequence of being defeated and avoid having the nemesis grow larger as well. And I think we're probably going to call that power into play, but I think we need to kind of set the scene for what's occurred to you and then we'll let you call it as you like. So I'll go into a little description mode, and then you can have a bit of a reflection, perhaps while I go back to Nick and Carl about where you see that going, because you'll have a lot of say in what the eventual outcome is. Anyway, here we go. You come to your senses because you were lost in a nightmarish world, weren't you? Of the corgis and their screaming and their pecking beaks, but yourself mentally were back in the Great War and the trenches and the rats and the falling bombs and the source of all your trauma and madness. And when you come to your senses, you're in great pain and distress, and you are being hoisted up into a tree. And you might start to thrash about a little bit, but the best you can do is grab at the rope around your neck. Yes, somebody has looped a noose around you and has hauled you up into the branches of a tall tree, and is now lashing the other end of the rope around the roots of that tree, leaving you kicking and thrashing and sort of clutching at the rope around your neck to try and give yourself a little bit of breathing space. We're very interested to see how your bodily power gets you out of this, but which it will do, so don't worry. Of course, your captor and tormentor is Eustace Childick, and you'll be spinning around on the rope, so you'll see trees, woodland, forest, evil crows sitting in the branches glaring at you, and then a glimpse of Childick as he's tying the rope to the branch, and then you spin again. So his voice will be echoing in your ears as you keep turning, and he is explaining to you that I said when we met before I knew who you are, he says, and you'll sort of turn past him. You'll notice a big rock at the side of the path as it goes into the woods that's kind of tilted over and covered in moss. Looks like a half-tumbled standing stone. And it's to that Eustace has looped the other end of the rope to get a nice secure hold on it. Yes, he says, I never used to pay attention to the crows. That is, until she came along, and you'll turn again and notice that Eustace has pulled aside some bushes besides the standing stone. There's a body there of a dead girl in her late teens, early 20s, quite worsened by foraging animals, worms and beetles, but whose dead eyes are staring up at you. You start turning again, and she's lost to sight.
Thankfully.
But Eustace's words pursue you. Yeah, she was her fault, really, luring me out here. What does a girl mean, taking a fella to the woods like that and then coming on like some sort of princess? She's no better than she needed to be. Well, I lost my temper, didn't I? And, well, things happen. Well, look at her now. She's got no cause to complain. And you're swinging back again, and you can see that many, many ravens have perched on the big stone and all around the dead girl. And Eustace explains, after that I started understanding them, you see. There was a message in all that croaking. It gets clearer every day about the crows and the great crow, what he's looking for. That's how I knew you'd be coming. That's how I knew to put a stop to you, and you'll turn again. So I'll come back and let you down after the crows have had their way with you. Now I've got to go and do his bidding, you see, and I'm minded to do it well, because I'm feeling powerful. Understand me? Strong. Yeah. So when next you turn around, he's gone, and you're just being watched by the ravens in the branches and on the stone, kind of cawing to each other and getting ready to swoop. Now we'll pause that story moment.
Okay,
You've
just
got the
leave
power.
me in suspense.
Well, the solution of it is entirely up to you. Your
Suspended.
power enables you to escape the situation. And you could not explain it at all. You can simply turn up with the other player characters at a moment of your choosing and tell any old wild tale, a bit like that Sherlock Holmes episode where he falls off the building. Or if some brilliant idea comes to you involving magic and crow speak and other woodland animals, or whatever you like. I mean, we'll never really know, will we, what the truth was. But if you feel like narrating how you got out of there, you can certainly do that. And I'll give you a bit of time to think what you might like to go with while I just deal with the other two. And then I'll come back to you. Yeah?
Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, then. So, Wombard, of course, your kind of sorcerer's delusion is that you are in the barrow, in the crypt, underground and in darkness. You can't see. You think your eyes have been pecked out by the Corbies. Certainly your face is streaming with blood. And you are crawling down the lane, moaning to yourself in Anglo-Saxon. Now, darkly, you had been following Susanna and Digby out of the vicarage. Yes.
Yep.
And you were lagging some way behind Wombard because there'd been all the business in the vicarage, probably about 20 minutes or so of that. So you'll see Digby lead Susanna holding onto the medical kit across that little path that goes past Sid Sutton's house, over the fallen elm and into the Childick fields, the same route, incidentally, that Walter had taken some time earlier. And you'll be minded to follow them, except for the figure that's kind of stumbling about and comes tumbling out of the hedges, probably by the side of the road, and you'll kind of gasp and clutch your handkerchief because it's Wombard covered in blood and scratches and howling, "I'm blind!"
Yeah, I'll steal over there in the most spidery fashion, attempting to be human, and attend to Wombard.
Well,
Wombard, oh beekeeper, what have you done now? How have you this fortune befallen you?
It was the crows.
Misfortune, nemesis, what has happened?
The ravens.
The
Blasted ravens.
Ravens, the Margrave, the dead.
It was indeed. This is what you get for trying to aid a friend.
Well, he desperately needs some help and medical help, but the middle of the road isn't really the place to do it. If you have a little look at your map, you can locate yourself south of the pub, Charnley Arms, and along the road from the village school, there's two paths. One to the north, that's the where Susanna and Digby went, across the fallen elm, and one to the south that goes over Charnley Bridge towards the woods. And the little house at that kind of crossroads, standing outside, is a rather decrepit little cottage that belongs to Sid the Sot Sutton.
Well, it's decisions, really. Do we just crash into Sid's house? Crash through there, but I think I'm more minded.
Well, you've seen him just about an hour ago. He was helping out at the school after the little repentance thing that Wombard did on him. But the school is now closed. Ordinarily, Sid would be living up to his name, the Sot, and be back at the pub. But if Wombard's influence has been effective, then he might not be.
So that's basically a dike, isn't it? That the fallen elm goes across.
Yeah.
Well, that looks like as good a place as any. A good bit of dead ground, a dike. It's not going to be particularly well maintained, I shouldn't think. So there'll be enough undergrowth to hide away out of sight in there and regroup.
Okay then. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's my plan. Anyway,
so
I'm a fake
guiding
creature. I'm not...
Wombard, who stumbles with you along the path, you holding him up with your many arms, you can get to the fallen elm, and there's a steep dike with a channel of water underneath it, and this elm forms a bridge over it into the fields beyond. You can see from this vantage point that it wasn't visible from the road, that inside the furrowed fields there is a big old barn.
Oh. Well, that's not noted. Okie
You'll
dokie.
also realise you don't have Wally with you.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there at this point. I think I'm just going to set to ministering with Wombard. I've got my my physician's kit, and I am a physician.
Yeah.
So I want to make the best go of it to set about Wombard and get him back to something resembling human.
Right, that needs a respite. Do we have any free respites left, either of you?
Yes, I've got a free one that I haven't
Do you want
used
to use
yet.
it up?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
will
of
do.
course, the nemesis advances.
Mhm.
So if you use your free respite, then you can let the healing work begin. Are you making any tea?
I think we're going to save that for a final confrontation because I don't think we're there yet. Because we have got Tiffin, so we may as well do tea and Tiffin when it comes to the last respite.
So you're using your Physica virtue, which will exhaust that.
And the medical kit
And
that I have as part of my equipment.
Yep, which exhausts that. And the effect of that will be to restore one of your quality dice, Wombard, back to full value.
Perfect. Yep.
That's might, was it, that you...
It was, yeah. So my might had gone down to 0, so I've pushed it back up to D6 again.
Right, fantastic. So that heals you. You wipe the blood away. You'll do a bit of stitching and a little bit of kind of counselling as well to bring him to his senses. You'll also, of course, both of you get back all of your lost resolve and reactivate all of your virtues, spells, and quality dice, except for the two that Darkly just used, Physica and Medicine Bag.
Yeah. I think I'm more to do with rather than counselling. I think it's more smelling salts and you know, a little tiny tincture of laudanum, just a drip, just a tiny bit, just enough to dull, just to take the edge off.
Good. Respites also give you an opportunity to scheme and give you an opportunity to forage, but you will really have to choose to do one or other of those, not both. And actually, I think you can. Your medical medical work would count as the main activity in the respite. But Nick, you would be able to do an action there if you wanted to forage. But this really brings me back to Wally. We're having a respite. Are you going to join in and gain the benefits of it? In which case, this is a chance for your appearance. And are you going to give some accounts? Because the story is as you tell it.
Well, so there I am, suspended in midair, rope around either end of myself, but secreted about me within my pair of poacher's pockets are some rather lovely silver candlesticks.
True.
And perhaps the buffing of the inside of my coat pocket has shined them. And what have I got here, Master Crow? It's a lovely little tinsel-y thing to draw your attention. And as a crow comes towards me, I grab the thing out of the air and smash it with a candlestick and attempt to sever the rope using its beak and claws.
Fantastic.
Very slowly and very messily.
There we go. And that's
fall
how
to
you
the
walked away
ground.
from that one. Fantastic. You know what, Simon? I think such a dramatic escape and such a wild explanation for it is probably worth drawing a reward card. Give us a D20 roll.
Let's find the D20. And I've got a die I can't even read. 11 justice.
Justice. Good. Make a little note of that one. It enables you to choose a new trait if you go with it. It only costs 2. So roll a die at the end of the scenario and get 2 or better, and you can add a new trait to your character, like, you know, escape artist or something.
Or absolute liar. Because just because he
Wild
says it's how
fantasies.
it happened, doesn't mean it went that way.
Good. So this brings us all together, listening to Saucer-eyed to Wally's tale of escape. What use do we wish to make of our respite? Wally, you also will get all your dice back or your resolve back.
If possible, while I'm being stitched up, I'd like to use Crafty to forage for herbs, please.
Yeah, nice. They're always useful. give us a roll of a d6 and also, I think, a d20.
A 19 and a 4.
Yeah, that's going to give you, chamomile. Not an inappropriate place, a grassy bank near water to find chamomile growing, and very useful for searching.
Okay.
And Wally, what about you? Are you crafty or subtle?
I think I am. I am subtle. What does that give me as an
That means you can come up with a scheme. Last time we were doing this, Darkly came up with a scheme, but this time he's been busy with his medicine work, so he can't be a scheming. But you can, and if we come up with a scheme, we kind of decide something that you intend to do, and while we're doing it, if we follow your plan, people will get a scheme die that they can use.
Oh,
Which
good lord.
it's great because you'll another die to be rolled. What is your wits?
My wits is a D8.
D8? Oh, that's fantastic. That means you can come up with a scheme that everybody can benefit from, and they'll be rolling a D8.
Just relies on me coming up with a scheme after
It does. Well, we kind of need to decide where we're
assixiated.
going next and what we intend to do when we get there. So it's time really for a bit of players planning about what are we going to do.
So where have I met with our friends at the moment?
I think you'll be at that little fallen tree that crosses over into Eustace Childick's father's land. You can see that there's a little pathway going from the main road outside the Charnley Arms to the edge of the Childick farm, and then it kind of crosses over. From your kind of vantage points at the bridge, you can see a big barn in the fields beyond. Speak your minds then, folks.
So what was the last plans we had? Because we noticed there was the young lad who was going off to possibly find his friend who's the possible Viking.
And he'd crossed the bridge and gone into the fields.
He had, yes. Yeah, that was the last time we lost him after the dealing with the bullies. I don't know what else we had options for. I know there was obviously the stuff happening at Grimble's seat with the crows, I believe. Or was it Henley Hill where we saw someone saw the fire and the possible parachute?
The parachute was in the woods, Charnley Woods.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of where Wally's just come from. You were just at the northern edge of those woods. That was what Darkly saw the parachute in the trees. Yeah. The malignity seems to be sitting on top of Grimble's seat and guarding it. Presumably, if the Raven Margrave wants it guarded.
The lady who'd been left behind by old Childick, was she recognisable after the foxes and whatnot had been? Was she? Have I seen people like her?
She was of the same age as the land girls. And you think that you'd have thought she's probably been dead a week.
Okay. So for me, old Childick is an annex to what's been going on here.
Do we still have a copy of the paper?
Yeah.
Is there anything in there about a missing girl that we may have missed previously?
I don't think there would be. No.
I mean,
no.
Okay, I'm just curious because obviously the girl may have been missing longer than a week. That was all my thoughts would have been. But no, that's fair enough. Just an idea.
Okay, right. So we've got the girl, the dead girl, and it doesn't look like she's a doppelganger for anyone that we've already met. No. Excellent. Right. Well, we've got our potential Viking, which is our warrior, that we're meant to find. We're meant to find a lover. Right. And we're meant to be rendezvousing at the church, as that's where our defence or final stand is most to be.
Unless there's anywhere else which is deemed holy.
Potentially, yeah.
Well, you know that there is.
So another thing we can do, which is really mean but interesting, I've got the spell. Obviously, we're in a respite at the moment, so there's a possibility of doing a Dwemer, isn't there? Is that right, John?
Yeah.
So I could disguise myself as the dead girl, and we could go torment. What's his face? And go really dark.
You,
we could
you
just
didn't.
like go all Dickens on him, and just. I'm not sure what that'll aid, but it's a possibility as a thought.
Well, it might be useful to actually not even just menace him, just switch into the girl and then go about
Wander
town
around a
and
bit.
because I'm sure she'll know a lot more information. People will be surprised, but I think the main priority really is to accomplish the mission for the light. So
Yeah.
it's to get the warrior, get the lovers together in a holy place and hold it.
Yep.
That's the mission. Everything else is surplus to requirement. Everything else is set dressing and chewing the scenery.
Great.
And the barn isn't marked on the map, which would lend me to believe that that's not supposed to be widely known information.
It's not on the map because it's not visible from the road, and the map
Right.
marks places that you can easily see
Mm-hmm.
and know about as visitors too. Yeah.
Right. Okie dokie. So schemes and plans. Go on then, Wally. Let's hear it.
Well, I'm not like to be a fella who much for likes and plans. We left that to the officers during the Great War. But, well, I've certainly got a score to settle with that Childick fella, so I suggest we go to his lands and we beat the living heck out of him.
That's not a bad idea, but I'm still thinking I have to agree with Mr. Darkly that maybe beating the hell out of him would be a lot better if we had a Viking on our side do the beating. We're not exactly a bunch of macho fellas.
His
But I'll give him what for.
His score will be settled eventually. You see, well, the dark doesn't tend to prevail when we're here. But the thing is, the light, we're more wily and clever. You see, we tend to use the light to cause shadows to hide in.
Good, very nice.
So we set fire to his barn.
Wally, you could make your scheme how we're going to revenge ourselves on Eustace Childick, and that means that when that situation comes about, your scheme dice will kick in. So when you do get into a fight with Eustace Childick, you'll be benefiting from this D8 scheme die, as will the other two, for the scrap, which is pretty nice. We just need a brief kind of like, what would you like to do to him, Wally?
I would like to hoist him upon his own petard, and I'd like to bind the bugger.
With ropes.
Ropes and hang him up and let him just flop around there.
Okay. And what do you see the others doing to help you with that?
Cheering me on as I pull him up.
Lending any physical assistance?
You got laudanum about you, Dr. Darkly?
I'm
laudanum left.
Well, I'm afraid I only brought a small tincture of it, but I believe the girl might have something to that effect. Potentially some opium. That might do the trick in a pinch. It's not quite laudanum, doesn't quite have the same effects.
Not the immediate effects.
Well, look pretty immediate, but just not quite as hallucinatory. But that's a great scheme then to get into, when you get into a conflict again with Eustace Childick, to drug him with opium and hoist him up on a rope. And any actions that are working towards that will get the benefit of your D8 scheme.
Aye. And if my learned beekeeper were to disguise himself as a victim of Childick, that'd put him off his, certainly put him off his stroke, so as to say.
And I think we've used up all of our frees.
What else have you got in your bag of tricks?
So we've got Sentinel of Camelot, which was the thing I used against the Ravens originally that wouldn't let them into our circle. You can do that as a Dwemer, but that's a lasting effect and moves on us. So I could basically cast that no crows enter our periphery for however long it is. I've then got Banquet of Flowers, which is creating food and drink for a dozen people as a hex. And for a Dwemer, you can make a banquet with intoxicating or poisoning effects. So basically, you can make a meal and get everyone drunk on it or whatever. I've then got Rhymes of Ragged Robes, which is the Dwemer is the disguise yourself, which I did with the Reverend. Or I've got target person sees you as an ordinary human of a trusted sort. So just has more confidence, and strengthens the veil as it was. And then we've got Rhiannon's Silver Key, which is I can cause a lock to spring open, or seal anything that no one but you can open it. Or that was a hex. Or a Dwemer, it opens magical locks and creates a seal with lasting effects.
What does what does Old Highway do, John? So it enables me to
Old
find a
Highway
secret
lets you
path.
travel somewhere through secret routes that are known to you. Yeah, a kind of secluded path, a stretch of old Roman road. It puts back the Nemesis die because you kind of disappear from the Raven Margrave's senses while you're on the road, and it enables you to basically get somewhere else in the map very quickly without having any encounters on the way.
Or can I have people?
You can take people with you, yeah. But usable once per adventure. So when you decide on your ultimate destination, then that's a great power to get everybody there.
Lovely. I was thinking about maybe the ruins within Charnley Wood, but maybe we need to get to Grimble's Seat one day.
So where are we going now? Because the respite is coming to an end.
Where are we going to find a Viking on a day like this?
Right, well, I'm off to the barn.
Yeah, no, barn seems like a solid plan.
Barn.
On it is then. So you'll approach this walking over the uneven furrows into a kind of wide open landscape of spring fields, fairly free of noisy ravens and other birds. The furrows have been dug, but the seeds haven't been planted yet. Looking over onto your left, you can see the big house of Childick Farm, rather grand building there. The Childicks live well. And you can sort of see there's people outside on the kind of gravel sweep beyond it. The farmhands who would be in the fields working are not. They all seem to have gone over to the farm itself and are watching something take place. Distant voices are carried towards you on the breeze, raised in what sounds like disagreement. But you've arrived at the barn itself. This is a very ramshackle structure, strong in places, tumble down in others, the roof sagging. The doors into it are kind of really just sort of propped together, and a child or a slim girl would have no problem just kind of slipping between them. Quite a few other places in the barn, sort of planks could easily be lifted aside and you could step through. How do we propose to enter? Moving one of the doors and stepping in, or more stealthily than that?
I would think that we would take a approach in which we come at it from different sides, reduce the amount of escape areas.
It's kind of
How tall is the barn? Is it a 1-story, 2-story?
one story, but a big gabled roof to it. So quite high at its highest point, and the sort of structure that probably has an attic or hayloft up there as well.
Would it be best if Doctor, if you go from above?
Always a pleasure. I'm somewhat capable in that regard. I'll take that as a...
So spider-like darkly ascends to the roof and will disappear in through a kind of a window in the roof.
a crack. Like,
Yeah. What about you two down below?
I'll pick a side. Mm,
You're just going to pull aside some planks and step in.
Yeah.
No particular stealth here. Just like, oh, all right then, and then you go. And Wally, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to poke my. I'm going to get to the door and just see what I can see.
Okay then. In that case, Wally, I'm going to get you to make a simple check by rolling probably your wits, unless you think that there's something more appropriate to roll. But this won't exhaust the die. This is just a simple check. And want to roll it? Tell me what you got.
I got a 3.
Oh, great! I only got a 2. So yeah, you
Good.
can hear some voices carried to you quite clearly. 2 children arguing. One of them saying, you know, I can't believe you told them about him. Well, I had to. They were pinning me down. And then a girl's voice saying, well, you two stop arguing. I'm trying to concentrate. There. And there's a kind of gasp of what sounds like a man kind of taking a sudden intake of breath.
Good heavens.
You'll recognize the girl's voice. It was the Reverend's daughter, Susanna Lumley.
Okay.
At that point, Wombard has got round to the other side and is about to pull a plank off. Dudley, you've come in through the roof. You caught the very end of that, Miss Lumley's voice, and you heard the kind of groan of the man, and you're looking down from above, and you can see that the children are sat on a big pile of hay, sort of piled at the back. It seems to be winter straw for forage, and it's all looked pretty mildewy now. And you can see the warrior sprawled on the hay. He's been bandaged up, and the girl is kind of crouched over him. She just seems to have finished stitching up a wound on his body.
Yeah, I want
At that
to.
moment, Wombard pulls a plank off the wall and steps in. Hello,
I've got these.
the younger lad Digby screams, and the slightly older lad Walter leaps to his feet, and has got a catapult pointed right at you. Not a dreadful Roman ballista, an actual catapult. And he kind of stretches it back.
Oh,
Says, you better step back, mister. Wally, what about you? You haven't been noticed by anybody yet.
I'm going to push the doors open and step through. And you best put that catapult down, lad. You'll have somebody's eye out with it.
Okay. Walter will turn the dreadful catapult from Wombard to Wally and back again. I'll fire it. I mean it. I'm a crack shot.
I've no
I'm
doubt
sure
you are, Master.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. We're not here to. We're here to find a friend, and we look like we found him, and looks like you did a good job of healing him.
Ah, nice thing to say. That goes darkly up above. You've been able to notice some details that the others who've been engaged with the two boys will not have seen so far.
Yeah, I want to hang back and look for the subtext or the drama
Yeah.
here.
Something is occurring that piques your interest. Your baffled fascination with humanity, and particularly your fascination with death, I think, here. Because the young warrior has awoken. I mean, he is ghastly pale. His body is painted with runic symbols and covered in cuts, many of which Susanna has dutifully cleaned, and one particularly vicious one across his ribcage has stitched up. She has clearly injected him with the morphine from the doctor's kit. So his eyes are like saucers. He is a man pulled back from death, and you can still see the kind of trace of it in his skin and brow and hair. That breath he took was almost like a newborn baby is sort of being recalled into the living, breathing world. And the first thing that he sees as he takes that breath and opens his eyes and sees the light again is Miss Lumley, who is kind of holding his hand and looking intently at him. The two search each other's faces in a moment of baffled intensity. And I think, as a fey creature, although you might not entirely understand the human moment that's occurred here, you can hear the gears of fate turning and a doom descends upon those two.
Right, these are our lovers then.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
I
I
think
think
I
for witnessing that moment, Darkly, and it being so appropriate for your character, you can roll me a d20 for your reward card.
Yeah, why not?
Seems to be-
11.
11 is also justice. Gain a new trait.
Mm-hmm.
Something, if you end up taking that one, to do with emotions and feelings. Or protecting
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna descend down the wall into the eye line of my compatriots.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
not obvious, but I'm just
Right.
gonna gesture,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna use two of my hands to put together in a sort of a gesture that implies the twining of two souls or the coming together of two things. I think I'm gonna make it very clear and gesture toward them with several different hands while I'm stuck to the wall with the rest.
He's using 6 arms to pantomime this, and he's still not getting the message across.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. And then the
So,
hat
yeah.
almost falls off, so it needs correcting.
Susanna and Leaf Longshanks are effectively, deaf and blind to the world at the moment. She's clutching his hand. He's awoken from death, and all they can see is each other. You've really just got their two guardians, Digby and Walter. Walter then, with the catapults, they're sort of retreating backwards. Digby has reached around and has found a rock. I've got a rock. And Digby says, "You can't take him away. He's ours." "Yes," says Walter, "and he's not a German spy."
He's not anybody's. Well, apparently he looks like he might be somebody's.
Two children look behind them at what the older people are doing and shrug.
Oh, dear.
But they do lower their catapult and rock a little bit. "You've not come to arrest him?"
No, we've come to take him home.
I seem a little like perplexed and concerned about this. "He was going to move in with me," says Walter. He could marry my mum and be my dad."
He could, but I don't think he's. I think his eyes are for someone else, not you, Mum.
And his heart as well, I think.
Yes.
Okay, the two children will then turn around and look at Susanna and Leaf. Leaf eventually takes in your presence and says, "Hello again."
Hello, Leaf. How are you?
"I am a dead man, and yet I breathe. What am I speaking?" The boys get excited. "He's speaking English," they say. "He wasn't doing that before. He was just speaking German." "It wasn't German," says Walter. "I would have known if it was German." It was like German, but it was all wrong. It was like this. And then Walter reads something out that has obviously impressed it on him deeply. This is the only thing that Leaf would say while he was in his delirious state. And he reads it out in ancient Anglo-Saxon. But he just loves the sound of it, but he can't quite translate it. It translates as this, though: "How high those regal thrones, how strong with battlements crowned, how heavenward flew their high-flung stones, till mighty fate cast everything down." "Well, I can understand it now," he says, because it is, of course, Elder Law of Wands. I'll put it into the chat. And who, hearing that read out, would take its secret into their mind, claim it? Which of you would like to mark on their character sheet, Lay of the Ruined Hall, Elder Law of Wands? Wombard, is this from your time?
Sounds like a wombard.
I was going to say, but I don't know. Would that be overwriting the Saint Cecilia song, which I already have? Because I've got the elder. It wouldn't. It would just be additional to. Okay. Yep. I'll take that.
Yep. Yes, it fills your mind, Wombard, with a thought of crumbling battlements of those strange Roman cities with their impossible arches, paved streets all claimed by frost and ivy. Yeah, a powerful place once now given over to the elements. Its mysteries forgotten by almost everybody. And I thought that your handling of the children was so nice and sensitively done, Wombard, that you can roll a d20 for your prize as well.
Thank you very much. I rolled a 1.
Oh, we've not got any more 11s, right?
No.
The Magus. The Magus, card number 1. If you cash that in at the end, that lets you advance your virtue quality die.
Okay.
But it's not a die that you've got a huge amount of use for at the moment. So, okay, here we are in the barn. We've got Susanna and Leaf, whose doom now is to love each other to the end of all worlds. But of course, Leaf, who is still confused and weak as a kitten, but he knows in his nightmares that the Raven Margrave is coming for him. I served him, he says. I was his champion, and powers he gave me to dish out death, but death seconded me, and I chose another way. And then the Grim One took me to this strange place.
I think as I extricate myself from the wall and start I sort of double fold myself across from the wall onto the floor in this weird fluid motion. The Raven Margrave is a jealous type. He won't let his tools go easily.
But Leaf knows that if I've been given life, but I'm doomed yet again, he will reach out across the centuries, and his reach is long.
His fingers are already here, I fear. Followed you, he has. And we mustn't tarry, for we must do it quickly. Quickly!
Now about 3 o'clock. Sunset is at 6.
Are we still hearing voices from the main house?
No, once you came into the barn, that all got kind of cut off.
Okay.
So, just as a side note, are we aware of how we're supposed to get Leaf back through the hedgerow? Obviously, we have these abilities to we don't. Okay.
Well, your duty is to, if you protect him and particularly find holy ground, then presumably that will all come together.
Okay, of course, yes. Sorry, the holy ground. So that's basically it. Then we need to get him to the church. That's the only holy ground. Oh no! Or there's the standing stones. Yeah.
If the verse was anything to go by, that all seemed to indicate Grimble's seat, I would say. Place of power, lots of high stones and thrones, ancient places. And I believe Wally knows secret ways and cunning avenues.
Aye, you can see there's a path going up, but if we were to go around the back of it, well, if we took care, we could clamber up. It doesn't look passable, but you shouldn't have any problem with it darkly at all. And, well, Wombard, you might need to put your bees down for a minute, but or put them in your pockets or something, but we should be able to just about get up there.
There's the map in chat now.
Aha.
So as you can see, that's got the barn on it now.
Mm-hmm.
There's Grimble's seat to the south. Wally, if you want to use your ancient pathways, then there would be a path that would take you along the back of Childick Farm, but hidden from view because you're following an old ditch. And then it would curve southwards, and there would be a causeway, almost forgotten by most people, where you can wade the river, a little weir. Then the path follows the railway track, so you're walking along the siding of that. And you can see there's a little scattered area of woodland just north of Grimble Seat, through those woods, hidden from view by the village. And then, an ascent where you can climb the kind of rocky cliffs on Grimble Seat. It wouldn't be an easy ascent, particularly for Leaf, but it would be doable if you were to be able to help Raven. It should bring you up onto Grimble Seat. All of that, a journey which would take a couple of hours if you were to make it ordinarily, would be doable in an hour, and you would drop off the Raven Margrave side, pushing the Nemesis die back
down. Lovely. That sounds 4 o'clock. That would be now.
4 o'clock. Yeah.
4 o'clock, and we make our ascent.
Is that what we're doing?
I think so.
It seems that way.
Very good. Follow me then, says Wally. And along we go, curving around, as I said, the farmhouse, the old weir, picking your way across the river there, where it's only kind of ankle deep in places. Leaf, of course, needs to be propped up. Susanna kind of clings to him and, does her best, but will need some assistance from somebody else because he keeps his knees keep kicking and he sags to the ground. Which of you is most likely to be assisting Leaf's journey?
I think I'm very capable because I've got extra hands. I'm also the duty physician, coroner, gravedigger, Renaissance creature.
Yeah.
Always good.
Good. Following the railway tracks then, and from this point there is one interesting detail happening. You're now passing along the side of Cotter's Meadow, the kind of the meadows to the south of the river chain. This area is given over to wildflowers, but I just got to ask: has anybody picked up Lore of Swords?
Yes.
Wally, right? Something will spring into your head as you look on those flowers. And here's another little line of verse. It seems to emerge into your mind like most wise things, and therefore you'll know it is coming from the light itself. No need in the chat. No need for a gardener there to set or sow, to plant or prune, for of their own accord all flowers as they created were do grow. And you can see an object in the middle of that meadow, plane, an aeroplane.
Why?
You think, surely if an aeroplane landed in Cotter's Meadow, the whole village would come out to see it.
You'd think they would. Is it looking reasonable repair, or?
That you can't say without going to take a look. But it certainly looks like, you know your planes. It looks like a Spitfire.
The plane that flew over in the conundrum.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well
point,
remembered.
Sir. Nice point, sir.
Well, let's investigate it. Let's
definitely.
not tarry. If you are going to do this, I will tend to Leaf while you investigate the flying machine.
John, for this investigation, could I use my character trait of perceptive, please, for clues?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Thank you.
that basically means that die. Are you still under oath? You're not still under oath, are you?
For the bees or for the
For the bees.
No, I've done that bee oath.
Do you have? Are you still under any other oaths at the moment?
I am. The only other oath I have is for not turning down a lady's request.
Oh, that's something that everybody's been given. That doesn't, alas.
That's a
counts as
ban.
A ban.
Okay.
Yes, it counts as a full oath.
Yeah.
Alas. Um, once again, I'm trying to find something. And I can't remember which folder I put it in, because, you know,
Technical difficulties.
yeah, if it's all right, it'll all be edited out.
Can we
We
put
need,
up the
We need
picture
one
of
of
the
those
girl
interlude
with the clown?
musics as we wait.
The girl with the clown playing
Oh,
Oh
noughts
yes,
and crosses.
fantastic! Just a
I've just
constant thing.
changed the my background to a D4 because Wally's use of the ancient path has pushed back the nemesis die to a D4, which is always good. Yeah, so approaching the plane, it is a Spitfire. As you draw everybody close, the others can see it too. At first, everybody was like, "What are you talking about?" But Walter gets very excited at the sight of this thing because, like most boys in the 1940s, he's absolutely mad for military hardware, and will certainly realise it's a Type 300. So what are the prototypes? And there it is with its military insignia on it, and the British Union flag, clearly marked. There's chocks there holding it in place, and the panels at the bottom have been taken off, and somebody is clearly working on repairing it, because there's bullet holes in parts of the fuselage and scorch marks along the side. It's clearly seen some action. Somebody in a flight suit is working on it. Drawing a little closer, and the figure in the flight suit ducks out from underneath it and looks your way and waves. Goggles pushed up onto forehead and sort of fur-trimmed flight jacket, but not surprisingly, a woman.
Doff my cap.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Wombard, you were talking about being perceptive, and you'll have a moment of perception now when you look at her. She's got sort of tight blonde curls in the 40s style, but there's no mistaking those clear grey eyes that survey you intently. You saw those eyes in the Lady Knight outside the chapel during the conundrum. So, waves to you. Good afternoon, she says. And Wally, because you showed a little bit of deference there, she says, "Sir, do you know airplanes, and are you skilled in the repair of them?"
I know what an aeroplane is, but no, I must say that I've no inkling of how to repair one of these things. It's got holes in it, but we can patch them up, I expect.
"Indeed I shall," she says. "And what brings you here, gentlemen, lady, sir?" she says to Leaf, who kind of stares at her with if his eyes could get more saucer-like. He falls to his knees.
I'm afraid to say nothing as spectacular as just passing through.
There is not
Not
really such a thing as just passing for the light, is there? We're all together, as it were, and not by happenstance or chance, I wouldn't think.
You speak wisely, Sam. Little happens here by chance, as you say. Perhaps then you have come to seek my blessing.
I believe we have. You do remind me of someone else that has offered us a blessing in the past.
A blessing, a curse, or a ban, one of the three.
Indeed. I am Britomart, and the name will strike strange shivers in your bones, and you feel that the lady in whose presence you're standing is intensely old as the hedgerow itself. Britomart is the name of a goddess. one of the old gods of the Hedgerow. But perhaps, she says, in order that I might know that you're worthy of a blessing, you will answer a riddle?
Of course.
Here is Britamart's riddle. I am a fierce clash, a skyward dance, where knights and flying steeds advance. Above the clouds we fought the foe, a nation watching from below.
One would assume this to be an event rather than a thing.
She returns to work on the plane, leaving you to ponder the riddle.
Knights in flying steeds. Is it a plane?
Perhaps several planes. I believe you call them a battalion. No, a squadron.
Squadron.
And this is a pivotal point. I've been here before. There's a sky battle, a battle for a country, I think.
Wally, this is probably your thing. We're talking, this is 1941.
Yes.
We're talking a year ago, the summer of 1940. What filled the skies over little villages like that.
Was it perhaps we're talking of the Battle of Britain then?
I think we are exactly talking about the Battle of Britain. Yeah. Britomart is delighted to be recognised and appreciated. My children, my knights, fought bravely, though they were few, but those are the best battles. She reaches into the cockpit and draws something out, something very long, wrapped in rich red felt. And Wally hands it to you. The weight of it immediately has that kind of balance and weight to it. You know, inside this is a sword. Chrysaor is its name. And it will serve only one.
I'd say
You
that
must
not
present it. You must present it to someone deserving. Needless to say, she must be a woman, says Britomart, worthy to bear Chrysaor, brave, chaste, and true-hearted. Now, be gone, she says, and returns, slams shut the fuselage, and pulls away the chocks in front of the plane, climbs into the cockpit. As you watch the propellers start up, the air roars around you. The plane describes a half circle on the flower-strewn meadow, and then the next moment it's into the air and disappearing cloudward till it's a distant whine and a dot on the horizon, but the entire village doesn't mark its passing, except for you.
Holding the red cloaked sword, I move over to where Susanna is, and the weight of it drops me to one knee, and I say, "Milady, from what the other lady told me, there's only one of us who can take this," and I pass it to her.
Right. Big moment. So you present the sword to Susanna, and the cloth peels off, and she'll take it in hand. Sort of thing that ought to be too big and heavy for a slender girl of 16, and yet she can draw it out, and it flashes in the late afternoon sunlight. Okay, she is your chosen avatar of Britomart, and this is going to be a big help. But it'll change her as well. Nicely chosen. Wally, I think, for encountering a goddess, solving a riddle, and passing on her blessing. Roll me another d20.
It's a 10 rather than 11 this time.
Yeah, just to break with tradition here. Fortune. That's to gain a humour, so you could become arcane if you're not already, and gain the ability to do spells. Crafty if you're not already. Martial if you're not already. Renowned or subtle.
Okay.
So make a note of that one. Right, here we are with the time ticking away. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon now. Shadows starting to lengthen. You feel, Wally, that by leaving the path and having this rather momentous encounter, you won't be able to find that path again. So ascending Grimble's seat is going to have to be done by conventional methods.
Oh, maybe a blessing with the poor Longshanks' condition.
So, folks, from here you can see that there's the almshouses, which is where the Landgars live, and connects to the main road. The road runs southwards past Grimble's seat, and there's a little thing there, the Hoff, which is the cave, which acts as an air raid shelter, and Grimble's Stair, which climbs up to the top. So that's your local geography.
Yeah, up the stair.
Okay then, great. You pass along the front of the almshouses. Outside the almshouses, 2 of them are set aside for the land girls. It's their kind of lodgings, and they're all sat out on the front. They've got little deck chairs out. They've got little tea towels tied up to sat on their heads to keep the sun off. They've got their skirts pulled off and shoulders shown, and they're taking in the last of the sun. They've got some bottles propped in the grass. They've opened up a couple of beers to drink. They're in a celebratory mood, and you hear their kind of rather coarse laughter and merry voices before you all see them there. They seem immensely excited, and one of them says, "Go on again then, Rose. Tell it like you told him. You know, show us once again how it was." And you can see Rosemary, their leader, sort of enacting a little play. Well, I stood like this, didn't I? And she puts her hands on her hips and said, "No," and you wagged your finger at him. And she goes, "Oh, yeah, that's right." And she starts wagging her finger. And I said, "Oh, Mr. Childick, you should be ashamed of yourself. You proper scolded him. Tell us what you said about your son." "Oh, yeah, and I called his son a wastrel. I said, he's good for nothing, and he's good for no woman. And if you were a decent man and a decent father, you'd keep that Eustace in line." And the girls all sort of applaud and whoop and clink bottles. And then they become aware of you passing nearby, and they kind of quieten down a little bit. Is this something you wish to engage with, or do you just want to nod and walk on by?
I think we well have our work cut out for us. The longer we take, the more the Raven Margrave will pay attention, given that we have been granted some reprieve and a boon of Britannia, that we might get up to the top of Grimble's seat and unseat these crows.
What you say does make sense. I would hope to have wet my whistle before going up there. But
don't trust to hope.
As press on past the girls,
Trusting to
they'll wave to you, and you can hear their conversation picks up again behind you. You're now coming to the end of the almshouses, and I'm afraid it's my nemesis check has put something in your way. Gathered here in front of Alison's house, you can see an argument taking place. Alison is at her front door. Needless to say, Eustace is back to bother her. He's got his little rustic chorus of louts from the Charming Arms. They all seem to have spent the afternoon drinking, and while it's reddened their cheeks and blooded their eyes, it certainly hasn't improved their mood. They've got a drinking song, which they keep launching into. with rather unpleasant lyrics to it. It's to the tune of a popular but slightly old-fashioned melody. But this is how they sing it. Here's a health to the king and an end to all wars, to queens in our pockets and the laps of our whores. Come, let us drink it while we have breath, for there's no drinking after death. And he that will this toast deny, supper for the ravens, supper for the ravens, crows, 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 the king of ravens stabs his eye. This forms the sort of background noise that they're making, while Alison and Eustace have it out. She wants to know what he's done with her son, who never came back from school, and he has her kind of pressed into her own doorway and is saying he could maybe answer some questions for her if she'd only show him a little kindness. At that point, of course, Walter will want to start forward and shout, "Mum, will you let him?"
Yes.
Well, Wally wants to square up, so
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I mean, I'll let the lad step forward and I'll follow on behind him.
Okay, so he shouts, "Mum!" and rushes. I've just put the drinking song into chat. Rushes into Alison's arms. Eustace steps back with a scowl, and indeed draws back his hand as if to slap the lad away.
I'm gonna step forward and try to catch his hand.
Okay, and I think we can start our challenge now. Right then, Eustace is a little changed from what he was before, folks. Right? He's
In a good way.
He's growing more powerful as the day grows on, and more of the Margrave enters into him. Yeah, and how many of you are there? 1, 2, 3, 4 with Susanna. Yeah,
5 if Alison can be roused to defend her son
true.
after her husband's been dug up, presumably by, as far as she's aware, Eustace Childick, and
Yeah.
her son's being directly threatened with physical violence. I think that might rouse her
I
to
think it might. So
get
we'll
her
keep it
damned up.
then. It sounds to me, Carl, as though Darkly was encouraging Alison to intervene as well. Pull her son away from Eustace and give him a slap. So I think that you can probably be rolling your charm.
Yeah. I think that's what I would lean into with that.
Wally, you were stepping in to grab his arm. That's probably might, unless you think that a different die would be appropriate. Your scheme is now kicking in, so everybody can roll the d8 of the scheme die at some point in this. You only get to use it once during the encounter, but you can decide when you want to. And again, you could roll it as well as or instead of any other dice you've got. Womard, what do you think your contribution here is going to be?
I think I'm going to try and distract the other guys while this is all going on.
Yeah.
Maybe wits or charm, probably wits.
How are you? And what are you doing? Just
so I'll just
joining in their song, or trying to get them to sing a different song?
No, I'll walk up to them and ask them what all their coring's about. Haha, ravens.
Confirm.
Okay then. Right. Now Eustace, now that he's a trainee necromancer, has got the tactical humor, which means that he's always treated as 1 threat level larger. So he is in fact threat level 2 now. So that means we're going to have to make 3 rolls against him. The peril die is a d6, which isn't too bad. But these guys count as deadly now that they're drunk. So it's a d6 and they add 3. He's also going to be adding in an extra notch because he counts as having regeneration. So these are some of the things we're up against. Do you all want to roll your various dice? If you've got any traits that you think are relevant, you can roll them too. And remember, you're telling me what the biggest result you've got is.
If I've got an eye for weakness, can I see how he's like going to telegraph his slap?
Yeah, I think that works. Yeah.
So I'm going to see how he does that, and I'm going to try to intercept it. And using my other shiny silver candlestick, I'm going to try to get him to crunch his hand actually into that.
Okay, and that's pure silver, isn't it? Which he's not going to enjoy in his
Yeah.
somewhat transformed state. The candlestick is worth a d6, okay? And it adds an edge. Your eye for weakness lets you roll your virtue die, yeah? And it also adds an edge, I believe. You're generating 2 edges right there. Yeah, so d6 and an edge from the candlestick, your virtue die and an edge for eye for weakness. Is that all right? Do you want to roll your scheme die as well, or are you holding up on
that? Yeah, why not? So it's d6, d4, and d8.
that? You roll all of those. Tell me which one comes up with the best number.
7.
7 is pretty good. Carl, you were doing the mostly charm, yeah?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna entreat for that. So using my charm, which is a D8, I'm gonna drop that to a D6 in order to gain an edge.
Yep.
And I want to use my Spark of Humanity trait to get a D4. So it's going to be D6, D4.
Yep.
That's a 6.
Great. Okay.
Fantastic.
And, yeah. Lombard.
Yeah, I just look.
We've also got young Susanna. She's not going to draw the sword on this because the dark hasn't really shown its hand yet. But she's worth a d6 as an ally to somebody. So if anybody wants to take her ally die, she's worth a 6.
I'm just wondering if Arcane can do anything here, but I don't think it can.
No.
I'll just be rolling a d6.
So take Alison's 6 and roll your own d6.
Okay, sure.
Well, Alison, Susanna's.
So I got a 1 for me.
Okay, we'll take her 6. So we've got 6, a 7, and a 6. Is that right?
Yeah.
Good rolls all round. Here's the
last
peril,
thing.
but unfortunately, right, the peril is 8. So quite a few people, all of you are losing some resolve here. Let me tell you what happens. The drunken singers, right, grab you, Lombard, right, as you try and engage with them in a friendly sort of way, and push you backwards. There's kicks and scuffs, and you go stumbling away, and they gather around you. There's clearly going to be a thorough roughing up is going to take place here. Eustace doesn't slap the boy, but turns round and fixes Wally with his gaze, and there is something of the raven in his eyes now, and looking into it, Wally, you see in his eyes that dark place that you went to when the Corbies wove their spells around you. You're going to have to make a check to say, well, actually, no, you don't even get to do that because you lost some resolve to him. You're going to stand stunned and unable to act next round, okay? And I'm adding in a notch on top of things. So we're like 3 edges up and 2 notches up. We've currently got 1 edge on things. So Wally stands sort of trembling and shaking, and Eustace turns back towards Alison, but the expression on his face now is no longer kind of creepy Anakin Skywalker sex pest. It's rather more Anakin Skywalker, murderer of the Jedi younglings. He's gone full dark side, and he advances on Alison, plainly intending to do what he did to the other girl out in the woods. We're going into the 2nd threat level now, so we're adding in another notch, which makes us even Stevens. What are people doing? Dice you used last time have exhausted.
I think I will go with what I've seen of Eustace, and this that he's turning some baleful monstrosity. and I'm going to use my scheme die, which is a D8.
Yep.
I'm going to use my wits potentially to have spotted this and then
Yep.
to react to it.
Yep.
Or might, we'll revisit that in a minute. And then I want to use my stake.
Yep.
And I want to use my many hands, my double many hands,
Yep.
to do not exhaust equipment for the stake,
Yep.
and +1 edge for the second
Right.
bonus.
Okay.
So that'd be 2.
You can also have a D6 ally die from Alison, who is like slaps Eustace hard across the face, but he doesn't seem to feel it.
I'll let that for someone else.
I think kind of in terms of the drama, it's kind of got to be you that takes it.
All right. Okay.
Yep.
And another. I'm just conscious. I'm using a lot of dice.
Yeah.
And then I've already generated an edge. Can I drop a die in order?
As long as it's your largest one.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to be 4d6 then. Which seems like overkill. Well, we'll see.
But he's rolling a d6 +3, so it's.
So I'm generating. Yeah. Well, I'm generating 2 edges.
Yep.
And hopefully this piece of equipment will generate something a little more. Because I want to. So I want to sort of use my many hands to sort of shield Alison and step between them and produce and brandish this stake, and it's like demon, villain, revenant, ruffian.
Does this match your doom trigger?
My doom trigger is hazard while defending.
Yeah, that's about to happen, I think. But
yeah,
right, but watch out for that. Yeah, you roll your dice.
Okie dokie. 6.
Excellent. And Wally, I'm just passing you at the moment. You get to contribute on this round.
Yeah.
But then you'll recover at the final threat level.
Uh-huh.
Nick, this time I think that Susanna will take out the sword, right? She's not going to swing it at anybody, but she'll just hold it up and let the fading sunlight flash on it, and everybody will turn and stare. It adds a D12.
Okay.
Hell of a thing.
Right. Just trying to think what to do. I might try and go all old style martial arts on them all and try and stand up and use my stick from my beehive and sweep round and trip as many up as possible.
Right, I think the beehive stick's worth a D6 when used to do that.
Okay, fantastic. So first off, me and the beehive. So that's a 4 and a 3, so 7, and then the D12.
No, you don't add them. You just tell me that whatever the highest one is.
Oh, sorry.
So 4 and a 3, and what did you get with the D12?
8 with the D12.
8. That's what we're going with then, right? So Carl, you're a 6. Nick, you're an 8. Here comes the peril. 4. Right?
Nice.
So you don't lose any resolve. Carl, you interpose yourself. Alison slaps Eustace. He advances. You're there, eyeballing him with your and you plunge the stake at him into the rib cage, and he kind of staggers. You do your sweep. The sword is held aloft. The labourers, all stare at it and go, "Christ, she's got a sword!" And at that moment, you can sweep them all to the ground, and they go tumbling. Right, we're going into the final threat level here. We were 2 edges up. He's going to generate 1 more notch, so we're 1 edge up, and we can decide what to do. We can flee. We can try and tie him up and lash a rope around him and dangle him from Alison's window. You're in charge of the drama, and we whatever you do, this will be the end of the encounter, and the actual outcome depends on what you describe.
Has the stake had a marked effect?
Not as such. He's not a vampire, but he does recoil from it and stares at it with kind of hatred and bafflement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I like it so much as a touch. I think that's probably worth an extra edge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
to
that was the
teenage.
intention. Like, the main insult I was throwing at him was Revenant.
So really, we've just got to get through this final threat. Describe what you're doing. Susanna's sword is still a thing. Alison can still offer a d6 by her curses and threats at Eustace. Wally, you're back, having shaken yourself out of your funk. Eustace seems to be about to kind of screech some corvid kind of cry of rage, perhaps to summon something.
After my reverie is not quite the word of the last round of being back suspended on the gibbet, it's all bringing back to me the trenches and whatnot. And I reach forward with the rope, which I pull down, and I try to grab him round the throat. And you effing bastard! You're just like those effing officers who left us there. You horrible pig! And I try to throttle him.
Right. You know what? I think that the rope, since it's actually, a noose, is worth a d8. Yeah. So have that. I think that the role play is worth. You can have that as a boost to the rope for a d10, or you can have it as another edge.
I'll have it as another edge.
Okay. So with 3 edges.
Okay. So we'll use my. So I'm going to use the rope, and I'm going to use my might as well. And I get a 2.
A 2 overall. Okay. So you're going to be losing some resolve on this. But
yes.
What are other people doing? I mean, by the way, the fact that you're on solo, you still get to do what you describe yourself as doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a question of how much resolve you lose in attempting to do it. How much resolve have you got?
I've got 6 at the moment. Would that have triggered my doom?
And your doom is?
My doom is reveal inner darkness.
Ooh, do you know what? It certainly can.
I'm going to use the...
And that means your doom die gets the size bigger.
Yeah. Can I use it?
Yeah. And can be used...
irrespectively, and it's a 5.
That's a little better. Yeah. So you can use your doom die. It's now that your doom has been triggered, you can use your doom die on every roll. It doesn't exhaust.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if ever you roll the maximum number on it, it'll get another size.
Yeah.
Which, in a way, is good.
Slippery slope.
It can only grow once that way during the course of the adventure, by the way. So once it's now a d6, isn't it? Once it gets to a d8, that's as big as it'll get. But brilliant, yeah, you've revealed your darkness. Over to you, Nick.
So for these guys that are doing the chanting, I'm going to try and use charm because I don't think I've used charm yet, and I'm going to just shout out to them.
Look, spells not worth doing.
Sorry,
you don't have anything in there. Yeah, you can't do it fast, can you?
Yeah, no. So I'm just going to shout to them. Look at you all following blindly this man. And look what he does, treating the women the way he does, treating the people, the town, the way he does. I see that's happening in a different part of the world currently. People following another person, a leader, blind. Look, what would King George say? Look at this.
Great. I love the role play of that. You can either boost your die, make your charm die 1 die bigger, or you can have an edge.
Let's try with an edge. See how that goes.
You can afford to lose the resolve, can you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And what'd you get?
And I got 2, so not very good.
And Carl.
Yeah, I think I'm going.
Oh, by the way, sorry, Nick. You also get to roll Susanna's d12.
Okay, apologies.
Yeah, that's not going to go away.
Well, fantastic then. That was a 12.
Okay, that'll work. So when she kind of comes up behind you and points the sword and says, "I think you should go home before I tell my father about you." They'll all go scrambling away towards the bridge. Carl, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm really gonna follow through. And with Wally doing the vast majority of the menacing, I think I'm gonna fall to supporting him. in this, and following the idea that we had. I think I'm going to get the tail end of the rope and start trying to bind, him about the legs, and otherwise pin him and pull him into places for Wally to get a much better grip on him.
You've used your scheme die, haven't you?
Yep, but I'm going with might.
Yeah.
And with the old many hands will help with this, no doubt.
Boost the die. You've got enough edges.
Yeah, I'm gonna boost. I'm gonna boost the die. And then well, I've got two bonuses, so I could either boost it twice or I could boost an edge, so we can remove
I thought you already
this.
used one of your many arms things.
Oh, I have, yeah. That's a good point. I did that last time.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, I'm just on a D4 effectively. This is the best I can do.
Yeah. 3 doom in there as well.
That's a D4, I guess. Yeah, we'll throw the doom in there. Yeah, I think so. And the only other thing I've got are herbs. And that's not going to help in this situation because he's not a ghost, and we're not planning. So I think it's just 2d4. I think that's the best I can do.
Make sure you remember which one is your doom die.
Yep, that's fine. So that is a 4 is my highest, and that's on my doom die.
Right. So your doom die becomes a d6.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's happened to you now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's the d6 that he's rolling. Okay, then. The resolve loss that's coming your way is 8.
Oh, ouch.
Ooh.
So you deduct what you rolled. Nick, you're going to lose nothing. Carl, you're going to lose 4.
Yeah.
Wally, you're going to lose 6. Yeah. Taking you to 0.
Mm-hmm. Oof.
I'll tell you what, I am happy I took those extra 3 points of resolve.
Yeah.
At the end of the last session, otherwise I'd have conked out.
Yeah. Wally, does that defeat you?
Yes, I am thoroughly defeated, sir.
Yeah. That will therefore generate an extra notch. So your total end up being, you were 4 edges, weren't you? Now you're only 3. The encounter ends, right? And it ends with 3 edges in a way that's highly favorable towards you. This is a major success, right? We'll have to deal with what's occurred with Wally in a moment. He'll have some form of injury as a result. But the drunken labourers will flee over the bridge. Your plan to bind Eustace has succeeded. Darkly has got him kind of hogtied, and Wally is able to kind of, throw a rope over the some sort of projection, some sort of weather vane, and haul him kind of kicking and struggling into the air. He, however, does bark out his curse as he does that, and he sort of spits it to you, Wally. It's his entrance power. So, yeah, which means that as you haul him up, you're then kind of struck blind by his malice and tumbled back into that nightmare world you were in before. You'll drop the rope. Does anybody else wish to grab the rope and continue hanging Eustace?
Yeah.
Or do you wish to let him sprawl to the ground?
No, I'll continue because I haven't used my scheme dice, so I'll try and jump in.
Needed.
Oh, okay.
You've won the encounter very successfully. It works out the way you wish.
Okay.
So if you want to step over and grab that thing, I think that, Alison, initially kind of like exulting and seeing him struggling, will turn to you and say, my God, you can't kill him.
We're not going to kill him.
Coolly said. So he thrashes about, kicks, goes red in the face, his eyeballs swell. Alison sort of tries to struggle to get the rope off you, not particularly fiercely, but she's distressed by this. Susanna sheaths the sword and says to you, Bombard?
I'll just let him drop.
And he will sprawl to the ground, unconscious.
Then I'll tie him up.
Wally, we're going to make a little defeat check for you.
Ah,
You know, this is where danger sense would come in, right? Because you'd just be able to avoid it. He put a spell on you. I think the spell is probably again the equivalent of being stricken, which is going to cost you 2 levels of dice on your quality die. If you would rather be weakened, you can roll a d8. If you'd rather be distracted, you can roll a d6. But I'm going to be rolling a d10.
I am going to. Did you say stricken for a D8?
I'm threatening you with being stricken. You could be weakened for a d8.
I'll be weakened.
You roll a d8. I roll a d10.
I rolled a 7.
And I rolled a 4. So we go with what you wished. Weakened then means that you burn one of your quality dice. It drops by 1 size.
Okay.
You can choose which one that is, but because
My-
it was kind of
yeah.
spiritual, it might suggest your wits, but
Yeah,
you make it part of your drama.
wits is going down to a D6.
Right. You're on 0 resolve now, but you are active until we have another respite. Everybody else can take a breather, gain 1 resolve, and reactivate all their quality dice.
I've got 3 respite left to take. But does everybody need to?
If you call it, everybody benefits from it.
I'll call it.
Now,
Do we want to call it on top of the? I think in character I'll be like, we are so close to our goal, and we can rest once we're up there. Come on, just one last push.
I'll look at him feebly and just like turn towards the mount and just traipse, just almost putting one foot in front of another. Very, very.
A long retreat, yeah. We've got Eustace tied presumably to a chair in Alison's living room, and she's probably going to go and get some help dealing with him. I think she'll probably want to go to the local defence force. They've got a meeting in the village hut about now.
I'd say I'd also like to gag him as well, John. Obviously, he's spitting out curses, so...
Yeah. Well, he's stone cold unconscious. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, who knows? You obviously hurt him with the hanging, but the injury you've done to him seems to be as much spiritual as physical. The hanging seems to have killed something dark inside him. You hang to the crown. Maybe you freed the man.
Okay. Right.
So we're pressing on.
Yes.
To the foot of Grimble's seat. There's an iron gate that closes a cave at the foot of the hill called the Hoff. The villagers come here, those who live south of the river, to use it as an air raid shelter. It's wrought iron, which means it's cold iron. You can see the cavern stretches back into the hillside. It's getting very dark now. It's approaching 6 o'clock. Shadows are very steep in here under the lee of the hill. It's dark and shadowy indeed. Getting in there is an issue. Do you wish to attend to that? There's also the stone steps that climb Grimble's seat, Grimble's stair, right next to that wind up to the top. Are we interested in the cave or straight up the stairs?
Well, we want to seat the king, don't we? As or as quickly as possible.
Up the stairs.
I think so, and I don't think we've got much time to muck about.
Right.
That's all.
Just having a quick look on the floor to see if there's any raw iron, something you can pick up as a weapon, because obviously cold iron and fairies is always good.
Yeah, silver is best against the undead.
Okay, fair enough.
And the 2 silver candlesticks that Wally's got. He's used one of them, and it won't get its power back until it takes a respite, but the other one is still unused. And they're particularly nasty against undead. Okay, there's a little barrier across the staircase that winds up the side of the cliff. The sign says, keep out, Ministry of Defence personnel only.
Well, you were in the army, Wally. That should mean we can get through.
Yeah, I'd say that we should all, I hereby deputise for lots of you to
Fantastic.
pop it over.
Excellent. By the way, I meant also to give Carl I thought your conduct in the battle there was particularly interesting as well, and you should be able to claim another prize as well. But we'll roll that at the end if you like. Unless you want to do.
Yep, we'll get round to that later.
Yeah. Okay, the staircase then winds up Grimble's seat. The sun is now setting on the other side of Grimble's seat, so you're climbing up in shadow, really. It's dark and chill. You notice that far away to the south, on top of Lazar's Bluff, that fire is burning again. And you have a sense that something is approaching the town from there. High overhead is the seat itself, and those trees with the crows in them, making a racket that gets louder and louder as you approach. You are now on the little path on top of the domed top of the crag. On one side there is a copse of trees, and that's where the crows are living. It's one of those hideous malignities of the Raven Margrave's guards and spies. Approaching the standing stones, and you can see them catching the sunlight, turning ruddy red as the sun slips away over the Drake Moors. Approaching the standing stones risks alerting the crows. Or do we want to alert the crows?
Do we get a sense of power, being a fae and just coming into?
Yeah, I think you'll feel something up here. Definitely. If you could perform, well, you need to use the sight, and you need to be inside the circle to do that.
Yeah, but I can definitely feel the hackles,
Yes.
all of the hairs going up.
I'm increasing the Nemesis die to a D6,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact to a D8. D6 because the effect you had that reduced it from completing an oath has now worn off at sunset, and D8 because it goes up anyway at sunset. There we go.
Right. Well, let's.
So the danger of the malignity is that they can increase it again. If it passes D12, then the Raven Margrave knows where Leaf is and comes through straight away.
Yep. But we're gonna aim to deal with that.
Yeah. So
So
what's the plan? It's dark up here.
plan.
The last rays of the setting sun on the stones, the crows swarming around the branches of the trees, and the malignity of ravens. If they detect you, they'll swarm you. Dealt with them before, but of course you've still got low resolve.
Well, plan is if we're gonna do this and chuck everything we've got at it, but Wally's in no fit state. But if we can get through that, then we can do a glee. We can have tea and tiffin. We can do spells to prevent ravens, undead, or whatever else we decide from getting up here. And we can really, nail this place down. So do we just want to disperse these ravens?
Just
and
thinking,
then
can we see the aforementioned throne as it was?
But you can see the stones. There's 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we're in a place of mystical power here. We've got Wally in a very kind of perilous state on 0 resolve. He really can't wade into this.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 of you might have to go ahead without him. Obviously, you've got Susanna with the sword, which she's sort of getting used to carrying now. It seems to be getting lighter, she says.
Mm-hmm.
But
Or do we?
there's a lot of ravens, though. It's a bigger group that swarmed you on the bridge.
So do we respite? We get Rolly up. I can cast a Dwemer against ravens, which will follow us. So a spell to stop ravens coming in. Obviously, we've got the threat of undead, but we've got Wally with his silver stick, and you're not too bad with your fists, Mr. Darkly. So that
so
seems
retreat back down the stairs. Yeah.
like
You
what,
need to
sorry?
get away from you need to get away from the malignity to take your respite. So retreat back down the steps, like back to that iron gate, and take
Right.
your respite at the foot of Grimble's seat. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we think.
Well, it's just difficult, isn't it?
If you
So
if you think you can handle it, do it.
no, I don't think we can. But the problem is, like, you know, we've got one shot, and if we being at maximum power, and if the Ravens just bleed us of
That
that,
Dreamer is amazing if he can do it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that will stop
Right.
all Ravens getting in. The only thing we'll have to be concerned about, because I'm right in thinking the Raven Margraves is Ravens and undead basically. So
Yeah.
that basically means we've just got undead that will be able to penetrate the sphere as we walk along, which means that we've got Wally and Susanna, was it? Sorry, with the sword. Yeah. So we have got that ability there.
I think Walter you'll have left with his mother Alison, and maybe
Yes.
Digby as well. So it's just
Yes.
Susanna, Leaf, and the three of you.
yeah, 5 people, 5 standing stones. Seems about right, doesn't it?
We've also got the ability to do a scheme or 2 schemes, so that could help against us as well, because you both do schemes.
But is a glee? Do we need to do a respite in order to do a glee?
We need to do a respite. He does need to do. A glee is done in a respite as well, so you'll just have to push the nemesis die for that.
Well, not necessarily, because you've got Tiffin, which gives you a free respite. So we can take this tea with Tiffin now, or we can take the free respite now and push up, deal with the Ravens, and then we can take tea and Tiffin and do a glee with tea and Tiffin.
Which way do you want to do it?
We'll take the regular respite now, I think.
Respite. Okay then, folks. Everybody, put your resolve back up to max. Reawake all of your dice, spells, and equipment.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, I'm going to cast my Dwemer, please.
Okay then. So
I'm also going to use, I may as well, my chamomile herb in assistance.
Great. So you've got the details of your Dwemer there. I think it's threat level.
So this one's TL0 for the Sentinel.
So you only have to make a single roll to do it.
Yeah. PD4. Sorry, what was PD again? Sorry.
4, so you're going to get D4 peril, and you're just rolling to soak that. With you could use your talisman. That's a D6. Adds an edge.
Yeah. Perfect. Oh, very good. So I've got 1 on the D4 and a 2 on the D6.
Okay, so take the 2. I rolled 4 for the peril, so you're going to lose 2 resolve.
Okay.
But you cast the spell with an edge, which is very nice. So this is the Sentinel of Camelot.
Yes.
Yeah. Were you casting it, and you're casting it as a Dwemer, so you want it to move with you?
Yes.
That's the thing. It'll last as long as you concentrate, so not doing anything else. When you stop concentrating, then it finishes. So at the moment, you're surrounded by this haze of swarming bees that flow out of your hive and sing their merry song, which will turn to a high-pitched whine of wrath if crows enter into the area. That's what he's been doing during the respite. What have other people been up
to? Getting my wind back, polishing up my candlesticks, ready for.
Yeah, both the candlesticks are active again. Do you want to come up with a scheme for how we're going to deal with these crows up there?
Do you want to give that some thought, Wally, while I do some other bits?
Yep.
Aye.
So if I'm crafty, I can look for herbs.
Yep.
What would you like me to roll? It's what,
D6 and D20.
Yeah. That is a 3 on the D6 and a 17 on the D20.
Yeah. Mistletoe, good for hunting things.
Well, that might help with our scheme. Also, what I can do is I can give Wally a time sprig, which is a D6 bonus to making plans.
Yeah. Which means that basically, when all of you are enacting the scheme, you'll be rolling the scheme die that he gives you and a D6 and choosing the best of the two.
Sounds good to me.
That's good indeed.
And I
just need to put our heads together, I think, on this.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna. All these bloody ravens up there. I don't think we're gonna be able to bash them all and whatnot. We need to get them away.
Well, they can't harm you if you stay within the spell. So to some extent, you can wait them out. I mean, the spell fixes the situation, really. They'll swarm around you. They'll make a hell of a racket, but they won't be able to enter. And it won't be much of a success because you won't be generating any edges yourself. So quite possibly they'll advance the nemesis die or something like that, but then they'll have to fight.
Does the tree look particularly evil from what we saw? Is it just the ravens?
You get the impression the malignity has been guarding this place. The trees that they're in are blackthorns, which is normally quite a positive tree for warding off evil. So Margrave obviously claimed this place early doors. Stick his boys here before the player characters come.
Yeah, so we've not got to do anything like that. Well, they're just going to disperse, aren't they?
They will.
So,
Blackthorn, by the way, is good for combat if you can harvest it.
What, pull a sprig, twig,
yeah,
branch off?
Blackthorn gives you a D6 in combat. Yeah. D8 and a D8 if you're in a sacred site. I think so.
So should we in fact should I save that sprig of time for our second scheming, and our current scheme is to run up and brew a jolly good cup of tea and enjoy some tiffin, and to perform a glee. That's going to be the scheme, right?
Yep.
Seems wasteful, but
no, it seems good. It seems good. So climbing the staircase again. Now it's darkness now. Coming on for 7 o'clock. You see down below a jeep comes down the road from the south and enters the village, drives over the bridge. A military jeep. It arrives at the town hall, and a number of soldiers get out. There's quite a gathering at the town hall. Something is going on. Although the voices won't travel to you through the night. Climbing higher, you can see something else far in the south. Coming down the road from the south, from the direction of Henry Class, there are figures moving on the road. They're a long way distance at the moment. Shadows deeper than the surrounding shadows, shambling figures. A large group of twitching and stumbling creatures that move with the stiff gait of the dead. And they seem to number, you would say, 8 or 9, 10 perhaps.
Ooh.
And we're at the top. So as you step forward, bombard with your staff out, the ravens will come shrieking in towards you and then buffet away, bouncing off their kind of invisible ward around you. Those bees talk to their high-pitched song, and the ravens retreat in terror. They're threat level 4, or rather scope 4. You guys are scope 2, so level 3. Right, they will generate 3 loads of notches by their repeated kind of assaults on you, which means that when they eventually disperse, it's a very weak level of success. And what I'm going to be doing is putting up the Nemesis die to a D10.
Oh,
That means that in confrontations with Raven Margrave creatures, I'm always rolling a D10 in addition to whatever power they generate. But hopefully, you won't care because you'll have this sorted. We're in the stones. The ravens have fled.
Shall I get a fire going and produce the supplies?
Excellent.
yes. That's what a tiffin would be.
Excellent.
Oh,
So tea gives us all a chance to get our resolve back, and indeed you can re-roll your resolve, add any other bonuses you're currently entitled to, and choose the highest score.
I've got exactly the same as I had before.
Oh, good-o.
The improvements, yep.
Yeah, the drastically.
Drastically.
Yeah,
You're
that
Mr.
puts me-
Resolve now, are you?
That puts me on a big fat 12.
Bloody hell.
Oh no.
And you're also slinging a D6 or D8 Doom die about at the moment. D8 did you go up to?
D6, I believe.
D6. No, you didn't roll it. No, you rolled it to maximum number.
Yeah, I did on the last one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
well,
did-
but
I
it
rolled-
didn't. You didn't trigger it. That's right. So, yeah. Okay. And Nick, how's your resolve looking?
Not bad. 9.
Gotten better.
Yeah.
Okay. And all this counts as a free resolve. You can tell that this place, I won't make you roll for the site, it's aligned to Elder Law of Wands, tuned to the sky, rulership, control,
Yep.
order,
Yep.
royalty.
And we just got a piece of law for that.
I've got 2.
Right, one piece is needed to awaken the site, and another piece then to unleash its virtue. An awakened mythic site is pretty nice. All your traits get boosted in an awakened mythic site, including a Tom Noddins weaving. Herbs are boosted as well. And then if you unleash its virtue, some out of this world magical effect happens. That's an epic play.
So the one, I don't know, I'm just going to go to Wally and Darkly on this. That would probably be the crumbling battlements, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
To waking it. That leaves us with Saint Cecilia's song.
Yeah, it does.
Or
Now
Rouse.
that's an epic play. It's a challenge. Yeah.
Mm.
That whoever is chanting it is going to have to do. Threat level 0, peril die 4, but the size of the place. It's not that big. I think that it's probably only scope 3, so that takes the peril die up to a D6 and the threat level up to 1. So there's 2 rolls needed.
Okay.
Peril die 6. Is that you singing this glee?
It is. Am I right in thinking that because this was our scheme, we also get the scheme dice?
Yeah, you certainly do.
Perfect.
So, first level of threat.
Crying out loud, I'm going to stop using this D6. 1. Well,
Okay.
and the D8, sorry. 4. So 4 it is.
Okay. 3 peril, so you don't lose any resolve. Yeah. Next level of threat generates a notch.
Okay.
What have you
So
got to roll?
So I can't use the scheme dice, can I?
No.
So I'm going to have to use my... Can I use my Doom dice assistance?
You can always use your doom die, yeah.
Okay, I'll do that
Anything
then.
else you think that might be handy in there?
Are you entreating old gods for the charm or wits?
Yeah, the more drama you give it, the more I can suggest, or you can have ideas about dice that might be useful.
So if we're giving it more drama, I'll start. Well, it's an old word for Odin, isn't it? So I'll start at Odin's prayer as I'm saying it.
Grim himself.
Yeah.
I think in that case, Leaf Longshanks will stumble to his feet and join in that plan. Yeah. He'll give you a D6 as an ally for this.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You want to generate any notches?
I've got 3d6 basic and rolling against this. I could,
Yep,
but I'm
so
going
take
to
one of them down to a D4. Yeah.
Yeah, let's try that then.
Can't be a doom die then.
No, that's fine. So 1, doom die. 2. Oh god, this is awful.
Oh.
A 1, a 2, and a 2.
Okay. 4. So you're going to lose 2 resolve.
Sure.
But you're still standing, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. And the glee is concluded. The site will blaze. I think each of those stones will get its own kind of heartbeat pulse from inside, and then they will speak to the stars above. Each one will be pooled in starlit radiance. And some sort of communication happens between earth and heaven that hasn't taken place here for over 2,000 years, which is rather unfortunate in some ways, because climbing the staircase now comes Warm the Bloodless. Yes, this ancient Norse necromancer who's been woken from his sleep on Lazar's Bluff. He's got with him half a dozen witches, the German paratroopers awakened from the military base. He's also got 2 hapless soldiers who were sent out to investigate Lazar's Bluff for the light that was lit there. So there's 8 of them. There was an additional lich, Dieter Weiss. But Dieter has stumbled away from the others. He has chosen to go home and is going to come crashing through the door to confront Alison and Walter. The Nemesis die is very strong at the moment, and whether his humanity or the Raven Margrave's will triumph there is a very deep question indeed. Now, as these things arrive, it's got to be, the question is, how do you deploy yourselves? So just simply describe to me how this plays out. Semicircle, kind of lemon-shaped really, of these misshapen stones, all of which now sparkle like icicles. They seem to have absorbed the starlight. Looming beyond that, the blackthorn trees, each of them like an expanded hand, an unclenched fist, freed from the ravens that have been nesting in them. Approaching you and stumbling into the starlight come the liches of the Raven Margrave, many in number, their eyes kind of blazing with hunger and frosty. All of them, their gaze trained on Leaf. He's the warm they've come from, and they intend to rip him open and sacrifice him on these very stones.
What has Leaf got to defend himself with, perchance?
Almost nothing, and he can barely stand. What he's got to defend himself with is Susanna and her sword. So she will step in front of him and say, "You shall not claim him."
Oh, so close.
What are you 3 doing? I presume the pair of them are in the centre of the circle. What do you think would be cool? I think we're into drama territory here rather than wrangling dice.
I don't know. I think Darkly was just thinking, like, surely that was it. Like, he's waiting for the sort of end, like, for the light to come and everything to be banished and destroyed. He's like, we're not done? Oh.
That's fine. Hold that thought. Nick, what about you?
I don't know. At the moment, I'm just trying to think of something over dramatic. So I think Bombard, with all this magic going on, being his warlock self, he'll start spinning his staff around his head, calling on Odin, calling on to see how his servant is being protected by his frig, as it was, his lady companion, and kind of summoning frig's power for Susanna, that kind of thing. Whether it's interpretive dance or whatever he would do, that kind of thing.
And Wally.
Yeah, I mean, Wally's been through the ringer a couple of times tonight. He's like got his back to one of the stones. He's got a pair of candlesticks, and he's basically trying to make light of a situation by, "Come on, you bastards," and trying to make a joke about The Walking Dead or something. I say, my walking corpse has no nose. Really? How does he smell? Quite abominable.
Good. That will obviously draw them up short, as is your power always to sort of startle and distract. And I think that that's when the stones speak to the heavens, and darkly, your long-awaited miracle is at hand, as interstellar energies flood down to this high exposed spot, hit it, and splash outwards, bathing everything in starlight. For Wombard, the starlight seems to gather around your beehive, which kind of throbs with power. For Wally, this simply carries your kind of laughter up into the heavens, where it kind of echoes between the planets. For the liches, they're shredded by it, and it tears away their undead flesh. Gorm the Bloodless is banished back into the shadows. And alas for Darkly, they not bound by oaths are going to be affected by this too. Darkly, you're going to be like flung back into the other world. You've not been for a long time. You'll be able to make your way back from it, but as the starlight floods over you, you can turn to your friends and say,
Oh, right.
"What's your farewell message?"
Oh, bugger.
Bugger. And the starlight will splash you into the other world. It's a journey back to the hedgerow from there to where you came from. You'll be back for the next adventure, but the kind of rather indiscriminate nature of these high holy places simply gets rid of all supernaturals not bound to this world by an oath. So Darkly turns around, "Oh, bugger," he says. Whoosh, he's gone, and the liches are swept away as well. Right. As the starlight settles down around you, you are all standing, the two of you, Lombard and Wally, in the hedgerow, with paths leading off in many directions. One of these paths, Lombard, you must choose, because the light is calling to Susanna and Leaf to move on to a new haven that it has prepared for them. You're going to be their guide to this new place? Very good. In that case, the two of you, Susanna on one side, you on the other, can lift Leaf, and you'll pass on through the hedgerow to the next scenario where Leaf and Susanna are going to be placed by the light. Wally, you'll have to receive back the sword, Chrysor. Susanna can't keep it. It's a blessing, but not a long-term loan. And you'll have to return to make a few kind of checks on Henleyhoff. After all, that is your period. The sword will have to be returned to Britomart. There'll be an occasion upon the Cotter's Meadow where her plane will appear in the sky again, probably just before dawn.
Yeah.
It'll land. You can pass a lady the sword to her, and then she'll be gone. A few events that took place in the night then. The rumours of German spies attracted the military, but they didn't find anybody. Meanwhile, in Alison's house, the lich of her poor husband arrived. Now, his behaviour sort of depends on the nemesis die. If it's a D4 or a D6, she can calm him and reason with him. If it's D8, then the locket from Dieter's grave or the presence of his son is needed to reason with him. A D10, which is what it was, would have required both. Normally then, Dieter would succumb to the dark and tragically kill his wife too before returning to the undead army. But I don't believe that happens. You got such a success with Eustace that I think that before Dieter arrived at the door, Alison will have freed Eustace. He will have awoken and been so repentant and horrified by the things that he's done. He's killed somebody, after all, and finally has some sense of what that means. He wants to turn himself in. I think that when the Lich came through the door, he will have tried to fort it off. And when the starlight bathed the village and Dieter Weiss's Lich was destroyed, do you think Eustace Childick died defending Alison? Or did he survive to hand himself over to the authorities? What do you think is the best end for Eustace Childick?
I think redemption through giving his life, potentially.
Yeah. So he sacrificed himself to protect Alison, and then the starlight claimed the Lich. I like that. That could be important when we return to Henley Off for a future scenario. We need to know what's happened to people here and how his father, who we've not met yet, take that news. Good. We have concluded. Yeah? The saga of Leaf and Susanna moves on to its next phase. Wombood, you're taking them to the Age of Plagues, and then you will carry on through the hedgerow back to your home in the Dark Ages, where a great battle is approaching. Darkly, you've caught up with your spider family, but I think that your doom die now kind of won't leave you alone, and you'll make your way back through the hedgerow to the mortal worlds and the Age of Steel. It might take you a while. Probably subjectively, it takes you 100 years, but you're a fae, so nonetheless, it gives you some subjective experience to think about time you've been gone and how that alters. For Wally, of course, you'll find yourself back in the Charmley Arms having a pint. And,
Excellent.
any
Thank you.
closing words?
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, John,
Thank
for
you
running
indeed.
that, for
And
being
thank you
judge.
very much for playtesting the scenario and the rule system. It always, as usual, every time I play this, I'm minded to the tweaks and changes to make, and I'll put those into the blog as rules variations for people to make use of. So, thank you very much, and welcome then to Through the Hedgerow. Thank you very much, guys.